So when it comes to the Diddy trial, we've heard of the weird actual stuff, Astroglide, baby oil, MDMA infused in all kinds of lubricants and just weird stuff. And half of the joke is just being serious. Some of it I'm joking halfway, but just all the weird deviant stuff and the freak offs and the Muslim veil that a woman would wear over her face. Diddy wearing that when he hired the Punisher to come bust her down. And that's just pause. Such a weird thing, that whole story. Again, Cameron with the A1 interview. And we'll continue to hear more testimony and just different instances and things like that at trial. And as always, everyone, let's talk about it. Do you believe he'll be convicted? Do you think he should be convicted? There's so many debates going on over what people believe to be criminal or legal, illegal, what will all happen. Some people feel it was illegal-ish going on, but it doesn't stand up to a RICO. There's just so many debates. But something that I've seen here being highlighted in the media that I wanted to talk to y'all about is coercive control. And this is real interesting to be put in perspective, in my opinion, because it's basically a form of DV, domestic violence, right? But with no physicality to it. It's like manipulation and a lot of twisted abuse that, you know, individuals put out there to someone else, and almost like torturous mental mind games. And it's not actually, it's, I guess, like in the UK this is recognized as coercive control, but in the US of A, they're saying some states, and from a legal standpoint, are starting to recognize it, but most don't. And there's not really anything in the law books about it. But as far as resources where places people can go to get help and stuff like that, they recognize the whole coercive control and all that. But the UK, England, whatever, they recognize it on a criminal level, like it's in the law books. And I guess this first started being spoke about in the 80s. And this is something men can do to women, women can do to men, anyone can do to anyone. And it's more about the manipulation. And it's intriguing for me to see it pointed out, because this type of ish happens all the time. And Diddy not only did it to Cassie in like intimate partner, that's the same thing they're talking about, to like IPV, intimate partner violence, as well as domestic violence, right? But also to friends and people who work for him and assistants and stuff like that. And it's just basically manipulating people into, like, because it's they're looking at a lot of people, well, why would they stay around with Diddy? Why would they work with Diddy? And this is the mental manipulation and games, I guess, that they're saying Diddy would use. And comment for those out there before I continue on, if you're already starting to understand what I'm saying. This shit happens all the time. So as you see, the media is talking about like how there's a word for a lot of this stuff. Because that's the thing, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I would have quit working for him, or if I was her, why didn't she just get away? And it's, at times that's true, but it's also not always that simple. But they're just, you know, pointing out that this isn't something you'll hear on the witness stand and all that, and hear a more definition type understanding, right? It says coercive control is a pattern of controlling behavior, manipulation, and emotional abuse over time. It is criminalized in the UK, as I just stated. What's it say? New York City's federal court district blocked the prosecution's expert on DV, or intimate partner violence, from testifying about this. So flat out, there was, you know, objection. We're trying to, you know, suppress this. It's not pertinent or whatever. Like, the prosecution wanted this to be a part of the legal proceedings, but they failed. And the defense succeeded in getting it stricken from being talked about on the record. So the prosecution, certain things they felt that this would paint the picture more clear. It makes their job a little bit harder. But check it out. This, I like what it says here, right? This case serves as a reminder that despite having been known to IPV prevention researchers for decades, coercive control is still a little known term to the public, which I fully understand what they're talking about, but I had never actually heard that word, that phrase, you know. And I guess back in the 80s, as I already stated, there was like a social worker who spoke about this. And it's just more the manipulation, man. Like, manipulators are so fucked up, so evil. They do such twisted ish, in my opinion, man. But while it's an important concept for expanding how we think about intimate partner abuse beyond acts of physical violence, some experts say its highly murky legal status is warranted. So, you know, that's where it's murky because a lot of people just don't recognize it. But from a legal standpoint, that made them kind of say, well, hey, there's just not anything definitively recognized, so we can't talk about it. But for those that know, you know, I feel like for real, let's talk about this, everyone. But controlling abusers, the real fucked up ones, right, never use force, quote and unquote, and note controlling behaviors such as deliberately throwing a partner into mental confusion and anxiety and tearing your partner down emotionally. Damn, that's for real, man. If you've ever experienced things like that, you've already known. But it says how in the late 20th century, battered woman syndrome had been used in court to describe psychological effects of IPV on women, which can include trauma and cognitive defects. While still in wide use in courtrooms as a legal defense, the concept has long been a source of debate, with many experts framing it as a part of general PTSD or using the gender-neutral phrase, battering and its effects. Instead, legal advocates have argued for decades for a better descriptor, one that emphasizes non-physical forms of abuse as well as physical abuse. So that's where this coercive control comes in to play. And it says, one clearly acknowledges the way abusive partners often use nonviolent abusive tactics such as emotional abuse, gaslighting, manipulation, threats, and unpredictable behavior to influence and control their situations. And again, that goes back to the whole manipulators, man. Research has shown that coercive control is present in up to 58% of relationships where IPV occurs, and even nonviolent coercive control engenders PTSD, depression, and ongoing fear in survivors. So, you know, that's kind of the long and the short of it. You know, I could sit here and try and speak about it and break it down more to y'all, but I just kind of wanted to point out that this is something that, you know, they're saying if this was straight up recognized in the US of A, they would just say, hey, coercive control, but it's not. So again, the prosecutor's job is a bit harder, but I just found this intriguing that it's not really realized, or no, like, you just got to watch for the manipulators more or less. And, you know, when I say that, it's like not every situation is the same, not every case is the same and all that, but clearly a lot of the things that we're seeing about Diddy went beyond threats or physicality or whatever, you know, that he was a real manipulator and very, very controlling. And yeah, that's about it on this one. So comment if you've heard of this coercive control and just your thoughts about it all, as well as the trial. And beware them manipulators, man. They wreak havoc on not just their lovers, their friends, with the mind games they play. And just, you know, something else about people that rock like that, they don't really feel a way about the way they do people, unless sometimes they'll say they do and be emotional about it. But then in the end, you're like, is that just more manipulation or is that real? But any little thing that comes their way, oh my goodness, that's World War III. That's so horrible. But the manipulation tactics that they use on others all the time is just something else. You know, it's not the same. It's just, I don't know, man, very narcissistic in many ways. So with all that being said, it's Coffee signing out, ending this one. As always, if you're new to the channel, sub up, but very intrigued to hear everyone's thoughts, take an opinion on this one. I'm out of here.